Ladies and gentlemen, it's high noon. Oh, baby, yeah. I don't think I could be the voice actor for McCree. But in today's video, we're going to talk about McCree, because does McCree need a buff? Well, not really a buff, but does he need reworking? I think he does, because he's kind of suffering from old man McCree syndrome. He is a very old character in this game right now. He's kind of like Reaper. Characters that have not been changed, but characters that are kind of finding it very hard to stay up with the current pace of the game. Tracer is one example to this. She's never really been changed since the game's gone live, but she's always remained great because her kit is awesome. Right then, let's talk about McCree. What the hell is McCree? Well, he's pinpoint accurate. This means McCree is doing a ton of damage when he's landing the shots, right? If you compare that to Soldier 76, which we will be doing throughout this entire video, Soldier 76 is more forgiving. Yes, he's got 4 shots that are pinpoint accurate, but then he's spraying. It's more forgiving, right? Fully auto, spraying around trying to hit targets. He's got his Helix rocket, which does AoE damage. Not a lot of AoE damage, doesn't have a lot of radius, but it's still there. It's still more forgiving, and obviously Soldier can heal himself. Again, more forgiving. So what is the issue here? Well, if you take McCree and you put him into a game. Actually, this happened to me, right? So when I did my placement games on one of my new accounts during Season 3, I played McCree, and during like the first 5 or 6 placement games, I absolutely annihilated the enemy team. I was getting placed with like Platinum players, Diamond players, and I'm just above that skill level. So for me to play McCree, it was just like I was owning the enemy team. It was totally ridiculous. But then as I started to get into high masters and get placed with GM players, playing McCree became very difficult then. I had to start playing Soldier. That is because their Soldier, right? I'm saying their Soldier would be doing more work than me, would be shutting down our flankers, would be shutting me down on McCree, would be beating me in duels and all this kind of mad stuff. And that's kind of the problem with McCree. Once you get players of an equal skill level playing with each other, the McCree versus the Soldier generally wins, and Soldier just generally brings more to the table anyway, which again is a bit of a problem. So let's get stuck into this video. Let's take a look at this graph. This is from Overbuff, and this shows you statistics from the Pit Carbon Group stages and the Overwatch monthly melee. And if you look at this, you can clearly see McCree is a very low hero usage rate. He's down there with the, let's call these guys the specialists. So your Torbjorns, your Widowmakers, Reaper is a special case. Like Reaper's just very underpowered at the moment, just because of the way the game's gone. Although Reaper can be used in some scenarios, it's not like he's totally terrible, but he's finding it very difficult to sort of find a spot. May, Sombra, Symmetra, Junkrat, etc. They are all very good on certain maps at certain points. Symmetra, very good Iconvolve first point. Widowmaker, very good on attack. Anubis, first point. Things like that, you will see those heroes used. But McCree, he's got a kit which is pretty much synonymous with being available, or being usable even, on every single map. You always need a 1v1 duelist, right? But McCree's problem is, he's not the best 1v1 duelist, even though that's what he's been set up to be, so why use him? And you can see the pros, they don't really use him, because they can do more work on Soldier 76. Now obviously, like I said at the start of this video, you can play, well, I never said this, but I'm going to say it now, you can play whatever hero you like. You can still play McCree on the ladder, you can still be effective with him, you can still have a great time with him. He's still one of my favourite characters to play. I like Soldier 76, he's probably my favourite. McCree, I like Reinhardt, I like Anna. Those are the characters that I really like to play, and Tracer actually, I like her as well. My favourite character from a design standpoint, is, you guys know, is just Junkrat because he's the best, but whatever. So yeah, there's a bit of an issue there. Right, so let's get down into the abilities and let's take a look at this. Let's look at the ultimates, and let's again compare Soldier to McCree. Now, Soldier's ultimate, Tac Visor, is a god tier ultimate. This thing, it's aimbot, you can sprint while you're using it, get into a better position. So generally you pop the Tac Visor, more often than not you'll get nanoed as well. But even if you don't get nanoed, you just run through their backline, you flank them, you annihilate their support, like you just completely wreck them. So you run through their front line, sorry, not their backline, into the backline, kill everybody. You can still use all your abilities. It's beautiful. It's awesome. And then you look at Deadeye. Now, on paper, Deadeye seems pretty good, right? You pop your ultimate, it's high noon, and then you lock onto everybody's head and kill them. The problem is, you glow like a massive beacon, you shout, it's high noon, so everybody knows where you are, so they just sort of stand behind a wall or behind a barrier, or Anna puts you to sleep, or you just get killed by other concentrated fire, and you can't use your abilities. So how could we make Deadeye better? Well, I would like to be able to use my abilities while I'm using Deadeye. I know it fits the fantasy of McCree, right? It's high noon, right? Tumbleweeds fly by, it's Wild West, there's a 1v1, he's gonna like kill somebody. He pulls out his weapon and he's like, it's high noon, and it's great and it's awesome. But why can't I still roll? You know, that would make me a bit more survivable. Why can't I use my flashbang? You know what? Using the flashbang in Deadeye might actually be pretty strong, because a lot of the time you'll get jumped on by people that, like, come behind you, like maybe a Tracer comes behind you and just starts doing damage to you. If you could flash her and then carry on with the Deadeye, that would be pretty nice, I reckon. So that'd be something, you know, I'd like to see. Another big thing as well is, why the hell, and this really, this pisses me off, ladies and gentlemen, why the hell does McCree just not fire his weapon at the end of Deadeye? Like, when he's channeling Deadeye and he's trying to lock onto targets, you're trying to wait for that perfect moment to fire Deadeye, you don't get it, and then he just puts his gun away. It's like, why doesn't he just fire? Why didn't he just go and fire at the end? Even if you're not going to hit anybody, at least fire, because sometimes you might actually get someone, and that would actually force the enemy to always respect the fact that you've got it, you know, you're Deadeyeing. I mean, I just would like to see that. Another weird thing McCree's got an issue with, and this kind of does need fixing, is his hitboxes are all over the place. One thing you'll notice when you play McCree is it's quite easy to get killed with headshots. Also, if you're playing against a McCree, firing into his head is pretty easy. This is because, for some crazed reason, his headshot hitbox is all of his head and his hat, which is massive. So he's got a very big headshot, so it does make him kind of weak. And coupled with his lack of mobility, it means that if McCree's caught out of position, he often gets, well, killed, which is a bit of a shame. So what the hell is McCree? Well, he's meant to be the big 1v1 specialist. McCree is the guy that shuts down the flankers. He owns them. He should be owning Genji. He should be smashing Tracer. That's what he does. The problem is, we've also got a Soldier 76 who is very capable of this. And you know what? He's actually way more forgiving, so you can make mistakes and it doesn't matter as much. You flashbang that Tracer with McCree and you miss the headshots, well, Tracer just runs away and you end up feeling extremely silly and stupid because you should have been killing her. But it is such a difficult thing to do. There are issues with flashbang as well. Like, sometimes flashbang doesn't work correctly, or it stuns people as they're still moving, which really goddamn annoys me. When you get flashbanged, you shouldn't carry on with momentum. Like, we've all been there where you flashbang a Lucio and he just carries on wall riding. Like, he doesn't carry on wall riding, but he carries on his movement. So wherever he's going, he's still got motion, he's still got momentum, and he just keeps going. So it makes it difficult to hit him. Like, Roadhog's hook was changed recently, so with the hook 2.0 changes, where it stops movement, it stops momentum. So you get hooked with that thing, you stop, you get pulled straight towards him. Flashbang should do the same thing. It would make it easier to land those headshots. So this is the biggest issue I've got, right? If Soldier gets jumped, right? Soldier drops his biofield down, or Soldier finds himself in a 1v1 situation. Biofield is down. This is healing him. This makes it more forgiving. He's got his Helix rocket, makes it more forgiving. He's got a fully auto weapon, makes it more forgiving. So actually, a really good Soldier can deal with the flankers much better than a McCree could. A McCree can still do it, don't get me wrong. He just needs to land those headshots, and it is super crispy when it happens. It is one of the nicest feelings ever. Flashbang headshot, get dead. It's beautiful. It's awesome. But Soldier just brings more to the table in that regard, and that's the issue for McCree. It's just way easier. That's just the thing. It's just easier. And the thing is, people are always going to gravitate to something which is easier. So here's the big part of the video. What the hell does McCree need? What would I like to see happen to McCree? Well, I've kind of touched on the ultimate and what I'd like to see done to that, but let's just work off the assumption that 76 does McCree, but he does McCree easier, and that McCree depends on high skill, which, you know, these are good assumptions to make because, well, they're pretty much true. So Soldier 76 is basically the better pick when skill levels are equal. So why can't we, let's say, make McCree's flashbang last a little bit longer? So this will let you line up the headshots and punish those flankers, because that's what McCree should be doing. If a flanker gets too close to McCree, they should be dead. It should be a massive no. McCree's got you and you're dead. Like I touched on a little bit earlier, flashbang is a little bit of an issue itself. Like I said, with the movement and the fact people carry on momentum is slightly annoying. It should just stop them in their tracks. Again, that would make it easier to kill them, and that's what I'd like to see. What about McCree's role? Now, McCree moves very slow. He's he is the least mobile offensive hero. He's very, very slow. You generally use the combat role to, well, get into position a little bit quicker. Yes, it does reload the Peacekeeper as well, which is awesome, because it means you can fan the hammer, roll, and fan the hammer, which is a pretty nice combo to do, especially if you're firing it into barriers. But yeah, I think maybe reducing the cooldown on this could be an option. Problem with that is, it means that if it keeps the reload component, McCree might actually start doing a little bit too much fan the hammer damage again, which I don't think Blizzard ever want to see. I think the best way to look at this would be maybe increase the range of the roll so you can use it a little bit better to get into position, maybe increase it by a couple of meters. I'm not asking for something crazy like McCree just sort of rolling across the map, but McCree being able to roll a little bit further might actually help him. You could say maybe give him some sort of damage modifier like Bastion, like maybe a mini kind of ironclad when he's rolling, to just sort of simulate him being more evasive so he can sort of roll out of position, you know, especially if he's supposed to be this 1v1 dueler guy. It would be nice to roll around in the fight instead of just going for a reload, but using it as actual like a defensive ability. I think that would be awesome. Fan the Hammer, right? This is the big one, right? Fan the Hammer was, this is the reason why McCree has been nerfed, because Fan the Hammer was ridiculous, but McCree was ridiculous back in the early days, right? Fan the Hammer's crazy. Being able to empty all of the bullets out of his weapon super quick is a bit powerful, right? And I think this single ability kind of does really encapsulate all of the issues with McCree. His primary fire is an accurate skill shot, yeah? And it's more effective than his secondary fire, which is a very hard to control, just massive blast of bullets. So when you become more accurate, you rely less on Fan the Hammer. You see, there's only one time you would ever use Fan the Hammer, and it's like I said a little bit earlier on, you basically use it to burn down a barrier. So if Reinhardt's in your face, say you're attacking Eichenwald first point, you would Fan the Hammer, roll, Fan the Hammer. That will do more damage into his barrier faster than you firing with your primary fire. That is the only time you would use it. In every other example, you're going to be wanting to line up those headshots after you've flashed somebody to just do damage to them. You're not just going to run up to somebody and Fan the Hammer, and that's not great. But think about it this way, right? Think about what I've just said. McCree is the 1v1 duelist guy. If McCree flashbangs somebody, yeah, and they don't carry on their momentum, so they stay still, and maybe the flashbang lasts a little bit longer to sort of help you take them out, because you should be killing people who are flashbanged, really. They're flashbanged, okay, then you Fan the Hammer into them, but as soon as they take damage, the stun of the flash stops and they generally get away. Imagine if the spread on Fan the Hammer, or the recoil actually, not so much the spread, but the recoil wasn't as bad. I think that would help. So do we want to see the flashbang Fan the Hammer combo being very strong against flankers? Yeah, I do. I think we do, because that's what he should be doing. Like, I honestly believe if McCree flashbangs somebody and it is a Tracer or a Genji, he should be killing them. Like, that is what he is there for. The thing is, he doesn't really, and that's why Soldier is used more than McCree, because Soldier can just, well, he doesn't have to flashbang them, right? He can just keep firing at them. He can heal himself. He is a better 1v1 duelist in that regard, and I don't think that's right for the game. It's definitely not right for McCree. Okay, so I've said my piece on McCree. I don't think McCree is underpowered. I don't think McCree is OP. I think McCree is in a weird situation, but I do totally understand that McCree, when you start changing him, can have all kinds of implications for the game, because he has been one of those heroes that has been crazily powerful to the point of being every single game. Like, I remember when there was no hero limit, there'd be 2 McCrees on everybody's team. It was totally insane. Like, McCree was really powerful. But then me saying I don't think he's underpowered kind of isn't true, because I've spent most of this video saying I think he is, but only in certain areas. But the fact does remain, you can still play McCree on ladder or wherever the hell you're playing him and still be very impactful. This is the thing with McCree. If you have awesome accuracy, you can totally still play McCree. If your accuracy isn't as good, maybe you default to a Soldier. But the biggest issue I've got is if that McCree player picks up the Soldier, he becomes more effective. And I don't know whether that's right. I think McCree doesn't need buffing. I think he needs a rework. I think they need to look at his abilities and do what they've done to Symmetra, do what they've done to Lucio, and change him, but change him for the better. And maybe some of my suggestions are pretty good with the roll, with the Fan the Hammer, and with the ultimate and all of that stuff. I don't know. Guys, go crazy in the comments below. We want to make Overwatch a better game, and I want to see all of the feedback off you guys, because McCree is one of those characters. I think everybody loves McCree. They love his voice actor. Matt's awesome and all of that stuff. So, I don't know, guys. Let me know what you think about this in the comments below. I've been Stylosa. This is Unit Lost, and this has been a discussion about McCree. Does he need buffing? Does he need fixing? I don't know. You let me know in the comments below. I'll catch you next time, guys. Toodaloo.